Welcome back. Today we're jumping straight into Numbers chapter 18.
Right. This chapter really gets into the nitty-gritty of the priests and Levites.
Yeah, it lays out their specific jobs, the rules around the tent of meeting, and basically how the whole system was supposed to work, especially how they were supported.
It's all about structure and, well, holiness
Yeah.
after some pretty serious events,
Yeah.
protecting that sacred space.
Okay, so let's start with the roles. It draws some really clear lines, doesn't it?
Very clear. You've got Aaron, his sons, and his family.
Yeah.
They're on the hook for anything that goes wrong with the sanctuary itself.
Right. Any offense against the sanctuary.
But then it gets even more specific.
Yeah.
Just Aaron and his sons, they bear the responsibility for offenses against the actual priesthood, the office itself.
Okay. So, like, different levels of closeness mean different levels of accountability.
Exactly. And that's where the Levites come in. They're brought in from Aaron's tribe, to help out.
To assist Aaron and his sons at the tent. The text even calls them a gift, right?
Yeah. A gift to Aaron, given by God for this service.
So what kind of help are we talking about? What are their duties?
Well, the text says they're responsible to Aaron, and they handle all the duties of the tent. Basically, the practical work around the tent of meeting.
Sounds like the day-to-day running, the physical stuff.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But, and this is a huge but, there's a massive restriction.
The boundary.
The boundary. Levites absolutely must not go near the furnishings of the sanctuary or the altar.
And the consequences, severe.
Extremely.
Yeah.
Or both they and you will die. It doesn't get much clearer than that.
Wow. So keep your distance from the really holy objects. That zone is off limits to them.
Totally off limits. That inner sanctum, anything to do with the altar or what's behind the curtain, that's purely for Aaron and his sons. They're the only ones who can serve there as priests.
And the text warns Aaron and his sons too, right? Like, keep others away.
Explicitly. No one else may come near where you are.
And if someone, just, an ordinary Israelite, wanders too close.
The rule is stark. Anyone else who comes near the sanctuary must be put to death.
It really drives home the idea that this holiness is powerful, maybe even dangerous if not handled correctly.
Absolutely. It's not just symbolic. And the reason given for all this caution, for Aaron and his sons being in charge,
Yeah.
it's so that wrath will not fall on the Israelites again. It directly connects these rules to avoiding past disasters.
Right. So it's about protecting the whole community by maintaining these sacred protocols.
Which really makes you think about how they understood holiness itself. It's like this potent force needing careful management.
And it's interesting that both roles, the Levites helping and the priests serving, are described as gifts.
Yes, that language of gift is key. It emphasizes divine appointment, not just human choice or, tribal politics. The Levites are a gift to Aaron, and the priesthood itself is a gift to Aaron and his sons.
Divinely given roles, strict rules. So how did they actually live? Especially since they weren't getting land like the other tribes.
Okay, so that's the next big piece. The support system. It's all tied to the offerings the Israelites bring. That's their portion and regular share.
Okay, let's break that down. What kind of offerings are we talking about? It starts with the most holy offerings.
Right. These are parts of specific sacrifices, grain, sin, guilt offerings, the bits that aren't burned on the altar. The text says clearly, this part belongs to you and your sons.
Belongs to the priests and their sons. And who can eat it?
Only the males. Every male shall eat it. And they have to eat it in a holy place, treating it as most holy.
So, super restricted, highest level of holiness, limited access, specific location.
Exactly. Then you have things like the wave offerings.
What's the deal with those?
Well, it's described as whatever is set aside from the gifts of all the wave offerings. It's also regular share, but notice the difference.
He gets it.
Aaron, his sons, and his daughters. And the eating rule is broader. Everyone in your household who is ceremonially clean may eat it.
Okay, so the whole family can eat that as long as they're clean. Not just the males, and not necessarily in the holy place.
Right. It suggests maybe a slightly different, though still significant, level of holiness attached to those particular offerings.
Fascinating distinction. What else is part of their support?
The first fruits. All the finest olive oil and all the finest new wine and grain that the Israelites offer as the first part of their harvest.
The best stuff.
The very best. The text says, all the land's first fruits will be yours. And again, the rule for eating is the broader one. Anyone in the household who's clean can eat it.
So, top quality produce goes directly to support the priestly families.
Yep.
Makes sense. What about devoted things?
Yeah, everything in Israel that is devoted to the Lord is yours. That seems like a category for things specifically consecrated or vowed to God.
Okay. And then there's the whole system with the firstborn animals and people.
Right. The first offspring of every womb, both man and animal
Yeah.
is yours. That sounds straightforward, but there's a twist.
A twist.
Yeah, you don't just keep everything. You have to redeem the firstborn sons and also the firstborn males of unclean animals.
Redeem them. How does that work? What's the cost?
It's very specific. At 1 month old, the price is 5 shekels of silver, using the sanctuary shekel standard.
5 shekels. Wow, they even specify the weight standard. That's precise.
Extremely. About, what, 2 ounces of silver maybe? A set price for every firstborn son.
Okay, so sons are redeemed. What about the clean animals like oxen, sheep, goats?
Those you don't redeem. They're considered holy. They belong to God in a more direct way.
So what happens to them?
Their blood gets sprinkled on the altar. Their fat is burned as an offering. But the meat,
The meat goes to the priests.
exactly, the meat is to be yours. It even mentions specific prime cuts, like the breast of the wave offering and the right thigh, which were known priestly portions anyway.
Got it. So even with holy animals, parts go to God on the altar, parts go to the priests for food. It's all very systematic.
It really is. It's this intricate system ensuring they're provided for, not through land, but through a dedicated share of the nation's offerings and produce. And the text wraps up this section by calling it all an everlasting covenant of salt.
Covenant of salt, that sounds permanent, binding.
Yeah, salt was a preservative, right? It signifies this agreement, this support system, is meant to last forever for them and their descendants.
Okay, so that's the sustenance side, but you mentioned they didn't get land. That's a huge point, isn't it? How is that framed?
It's incredibly direct. God tells Aaron, you will have no inheritance in their land, nor will you have any share among them. Full stop.
And instead...
Instead, God says, I am your share and your inheritance among the Israelites.
Wow, I am your share. That's profound. Their inheritance isn't property. It's, well, God and the service to him.
Exactly. It fundamentally shifts their whole perspective and economic basis away from land ownership, which was everything for the other tribes.
And the Levites, they assisted the priests. Did they get land?
Nope. Same deal. No land inheritance for them either, but their inheritance is defined slightly differently.
How so?
The text says, I give to the Levites all the tithes in Israel as their inheritance in return for the work they do.
Ah, so the tithes, the 10% from all the other tribes, that's the Levites' inheritance.
Precisely. It explicitly says they get no land portion. The tithes are their portion, their payment for serving at the tent.
So priests get offerings and a divine relationship as their share. Levites get the tithes from the people as theirs. Neither gets land.
Correct. Their entire existence, their support, it's woven directly into the religious system and the contributions of the community, not land cultivation.
But wait, there's another layer with the tithes, right? Something the Levites themselves had to do.
Yes, this is fascinating. The Levites receive the tithe, but then they have to give a tithe from that tithe.
A tithe of the tithe. So they get 10% from Israel, and then they give 10% of that amount.
Exactly. They have to present a tenth of that tithe as the Lord's offering.
And who receives that tithe from the Levites?
It goes to Aaron the priest. So the priests get support directly from the offerings, and they get this portion of the tithe that came via the Levites.
Okay, that makes sense. And the text uses some interesting language about how the Levites' offering is viewed, doesn't it? Something about a threshing floor.
Yeah, it says their offering, this tithe of the tithe, will be reckoned to you as grain from the threshing floor or juice from the winepress.
Reckoned as grain. What do you think that implies?
Well, it's like validating their income, isn't it? Even though they didn't farm the land themselves, their service earns them the tithe. By giving a tenth of that income, it's treated as if they produced it themselves, like a farmer giving first fruits. It sanctifies the rest for their own use.
Ah, I see. So their spiritual labor is recognized as producing a harvest, the tithe, which they then properly acknowledge by tithing from it. That's quite a concept.
It really is. And just like other offerings, there's a quality requirement.
They have to give the best part.
Absolutely. You must present as the Lord's portion the best and holiest part of everything given to you. That same principle applies. Giving the best part is what allows it to be properly reckoned or credited to them.
And once they've given that best tenth to the priests, the rest of the tithe they receive
Is theirs to live on. You and your households may eat the rest of it anywhere, for it is your wages for your work at the tent of meeting.
So the tithe is their inheritance, and the 90% they keep after tithing themselves is their paycheck for doing the work. a closed loop almost.
It's a very structured loop. And there's a warning attached, too, if they don't offer the best part.
Let me guess it connects back to defiling holy things.
You got it. By giving the best, they avoid guilt, they don't defile the holy offerings, and importantly, they will not die. It reinforces that even their secondary role, handling the tithes, is sacred and carries responsibility.
Which brings us right back around to where we started, the strictness, the boundaries. The chapter finishes by hammering that home again, doesn't it?
It does. One last warning. From now on, the Israelites must not go near the tent of meeting, or they will bear the consequences of their sin and will die.
Keep out unless you're authorized.
And it repeats that the Levites are the ones to do the work and bear that responsibility for the tent itself. This whole set up roles, support, inheritance, it's declared a lasting ordinance for the generations to come.
So wrapping up this deep dive into Numbers 18, what we have is this incredibly detailed blueprint. You've got these clearly defined roles, priests and Levites with very specific duties, and crucially, very strict boundaries around sacred space.
Yeah, boundaries with life or death consequences. And then this whole elaborate system to support them, based entirely on offerings, first fruits, redemptions, tithes, not land.
With the Levites even tithing from the tithes they receive. And the core inheritance, especially for the priests, isn't physical property, but this direct relationship with the divine and the service itself.
It's such a specific and comprehensive structure. It really makes you pause and think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What is this sheer level of detail about who does what, who gets what, who can go where? Tell us about how they viewed holiness, service, and maybe even community obligation back then.
And thinking about that, maybe consider, how do we structure support for essential roles or manage sacred responsibilities today? Are there any echoes, any parallels, or is it just a completely different world? Definitely something to chew on.